This is what's happening in D.C., ladies and gentlemen.
That's right, Delia. WUSA 9 was able to speak to the 13-year-old's mother who came down to the scene here behind me. She wanted to see with her very own eyes where her son was shot and killed. Of course, she's heartbroken and she's grappling with the details that were released by DC police today. This grieving mother arrived at the scene where police say her 13-year-old son was shot and killed Saturday night after he attempted to carjack a man on D Street Northwest.
Engine 2, Medic 2, EMS 6, respond for person shot outside 601 D Street Northwest. Be advised, stage nearby. MPD's been dispatched as well.
Investigators say an off-duty federal security officer was sitting in his car at around 10 waiting for his work shift to start. That's when police say two young people demanded that the driver get out of his car. The security officer told detectives one of them was holding his hand in his front waistband pocket as if he had a handgun. As the driver was stepping out of his car, he pulled out a gun and fired a single shot, striking the other teen in the chest, according to the police incident report. 13-year-old.
This is insane, y'all. Your kid, allegedly 13 years old, I believe that's the age that they said. Your 13-year-old child, 13-year-old child is trying to carjack an off-duty officer. Basically, they ran up on the wrong one. 13. Now, on the flip side, the parents is trying to act like it's something wrong with the cops or whatever, or we need to stop the violence and all of this other type of stuff. This is in D.C. Your kid with another kid doing grown man criminal things, ran up on the wrong one, and now he's no longer with us. I'm going to play it again for the people that's in the back because I want to get the full context because I know y'all like to protest. I know y'all like to have a conversation. I know y'all like to go back and forth or whatever, so on and so forth, right? Your 13-year-old kid is running the streets and carjacking people.
Able to speak to the 13-year-old's mother who came down to the scene here behind me. She wanted to see with her very own eyes where her son was shot and killed. Of course, she's heartbroken and she's grappling with the details that were released by DC police today. This grieving mother arrived at the scene where police say her...
Now let's back up for a minute. They said this grieving mother, so I'm assuming that was possibly the mother. It's unfortunate that the mother is grieving. I'm wondering where the father is. Why are we arriving to the scene afterwards to try to find out instead of being proactive and understanding where our kids are? Because your kids shouldn't. I'm going to just be real. I'm going to be 100% real. The children should never even be out. If you're 13 years old and you're not accompanied by an adult in some way, shape, or form, you should never even be out there in the first place. And where did you get a pistol from? How you going to show up trying to figure out and grapple with the situation afterwards instead of understanding where he at and where he was beforehand? And see, this is the problem that I then have with our society, because then our society will say, well, it's the police's fault and it's the mayor's fault. And it's this person's fault, and it's that person's fault. And I can sit here and I can hold these people accountable for the things that they are doing that is wrong. If I'm having a conversation about Mayor Brandon Johnson over there in Chicago and he's allocating the majority of your tax dollars over into things that's actually not best for the community and raising the property taxes over in that particular area because they're trying to accommodate a migrant crisis and they're taking in buses and becoming a sanctuary city and allocating the resources over to people that's not inherently already for this country, I can do that. But I cannot hold the mayor accountable for you not being able to have your kid in the household at the time that he's supposed to be there, and that just automatically becomes society's responsibility. I can't do that. I cannot hold, as much as I don't agree with the overwhelming majority of these cities and the laws and the legislature and the people and the voting. If you don't show up to vote, if you don't have your kids in order, don't blame the school. blame you and your household for then making teachers over glorified babysitters because they can't do their job if you can't get your kid together before you send them off to school. That is not their responsibility. If a 13-year-old is out here robbing, stealing, and killing and trying to carjack somebody, because the overwhelming majority of a lot of these reports that we've been seeing lately has been based off of the idea that kids, Baltimore, Chicago, DC, all across the entire United States of America, and guess what they look like? Us. They're this color. They look like this. And they ain't got two parents in the household, but y'all keep arguing with me online, talking about, oh man, you don't need no two-parent household in order to raise a child. Well, we looking at the statistics. You're more likely to go to jail, more likely to lose your virginity and not get married, more likely to be broke, more likely to need therapy, you're more likely to fail at life if you don't have the right criteria by which adults are supposed to be putting these children that did not even ask to be here into the... Here's the real question. Here's the real question. Because you do stupid things, you get stupid prizes. All right? We know that. Here's my real question to y'all. Just a question. If they are a minor, right? What responsibility does the parent bear when things happen as a result of their kid then going out there and doing what they're not supposed to do? If you raise your kid and you set the foundation for them to be a monster, and this ain't got necessarily anything to do with this particular story, but it's just a question because I think it warrants interesting conversation. If your kid didn't turn out to be a monster, or your kid turned out to be this, or your kid turned out to be that, does the parent then bear some responsibility for that? And then how much of it? Does the parent then get to go to jail? If we have to be responsible for our children, if people started catching charges for what their kid did, do you think that they will be more careful about who it is that they kid become? Do you think that they will be more present in their kid's life? If people had to get sued, if they had to suffer for it, if they had to go to jail for it, if they held responsible for it, if they get put on a poster for it, if your kid that is a minor, because you saying that we have to make sure that we all take responsibility and all of this stuff, right? Would you be more careful with who you had a child with? Just a question. Would people have children in two-parent households? If it costs you more to have a child out of wedlock than in wedlock, would people then get married before they have children? Just a thought. Let's go on.
The scene where police say her 13-year-old son was shot and killed Saturday night after he attempted to carjack a man on D Street Northwest.
Engine 2, Medic 2, EMS 6 respond for person shot outside 601 D Street Northwest. Be advised, stage nearby. MPD's been dispatched as well.
Investigators say an off-duty federal security officer was sitting in his car at around 10 waiting for his work shift to start. That's when police say two young people demanded that the driver get out of his car.
So the Fed is sitting in his car waiting for his shift to start, and he got two knuckleheads that ran up on his car and said, get up out the car. Interesting.
Security officer told detectives one of them was holding his hand in his front waistband pocket as if he had a handgun. As the driver was stepping out of his car, he pulled out a gun and fired a single shot, striking the other teen in the chest, according to the police incident report. 13-year-old Bernard Tony Jr. of Southeast DC died at the hospital. When his mother visited the scene Sunday, she was consoled by a man who works in the area.
So that's the mom. Apparently that's the mother. That's the mother.
Yeah.
It's just sad that there's a lot of crime and carjackings and things like that, and there should be maybe a little bit more light be shone onto this.
The shooting happening in front of the building that houses the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia's office, just a block from the courts and down the street.
So you robbing and stealing people and carjacking people right in front of the Fed building, right in front of the courthouse, right in front of the jail downtown and all of that.
From the DC Police Headquarters. As of last Friday, the district has registered more than 820 carjackings so far this year. Nearly 3 out of every 4 carjackings in DC involve guns, according to police data. Tonight, DC police is telling us that they're still looking for that other young person involved in this alleged attempted carjacking. They said he fled the area but haven't provided a description of this person. As for the off-duty security officer, we know he did legally own that gun that he used and that he is cooperating in this ongoing investigation.
So here's the real question now. Here's the question. Here's another question, just for the sake of conversation. How many people in the hood, in the neighborhood, mama, papa, uncle, homies, whatever, know who this culprit is that's running around? Still loose. That got his buddy knocked off. How many people know of this person? How many people knew that they was doing it before they continued to meet the right one? And how many people know of this person that's running around today? I bet, listen, if somebody goes missing, they gonna say, we don't get enough visibility as to what it is. The black girls is going missing, whatever, so on and so forth. But if somebody does criminal activity, especially if they're a minor, are they still protected, and should their face then be posted on the wall? If you know who it is, why don't we have bulletin boards for people that's doing crime in the same way that we have for people that's missing? Maybe if we had bulletin boards for people that was doing crime more and we promoted that, you would have less people going missing. Just a thought.